tazkiyah of nafs is understood as something dealing with spiritual purification through certain azkar, certain ways of doing it. But the Quran simply provides us with guidelines and principles and leave details for the Sunnah to elaborate. I will prefer to use the word self-development instead of purification of soul, because when the Quran says the person succeeded who did his tazkiyah, then it is tazkiyah or zakah in terms of development and growth and improvement. How this self-development takes place in the context of Ramadan and the Quran, I have simply 4 aspects to be emphasized in the beginning. First and foremost, the essence of Ramadan is ikhlas, niyah, or sincerity. A person fasts not to tell people, not to show by his behavior, but within his own self, her own self, sincere to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore, it stops oneself from food, from drink, and other activities. Therefore, ikhlas, niyah is the first dominant aspect of Ramadan, which is also the cornerstone of self-development in the Quran and Sunnah. This ikhlas niyah is expressed in 3 simple forms. First, by way of Sawm. Second, by way of Salah. Third, by way of Infaq. And all 3 are done in the month of Ramadan repeatedly by every believer. Second aspect of Ramadan and self-development is that it calls for perseverance or sabr and istiqamah. That means doing a thing persistently for 30 days, not 30, but even after that continuation. Therefore, Sunnah tells us fasting is for 30 days as obligation, but later on, every week, 2 fast, nafila, Monday on Thursday, or every month, 3 fast in the middle of the lunar calendar, 13, 14, and 15. So, continuation of fasting. Istiqamah, constancy, not failure for a single minute. Thirdly, development of an attitude of adl and tawazun. Fasting is not self-mortification. It is developing that balance in life where neither the excess of food nor abandonment of food, but food for the need of nourishment, not for just enjoyment. And lastly, it's a matter of developing oneself through development of community. Therefore, in Ramadan, it's not just me fasting, one person fasting, but it's a matter of how you are going to share your fasting with your fellow believers. Quite often, people assemble together to make collective iftar. If not, they exchange iftar from one home to the other. If they have cooked something delicious for themselves, they want to share with their brother. And similarly, during this month, extensive help and cooperation comes into existence. A person who cannot speak for his need, but we know about it, we go ahead and with all respect and dignity for him, offer him some gifts in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These 4 aspects dominate the whole month of Ramadan, and these are 4 cornerstones of self-development. I would like to look into it from a Quranic perspective, and for that, I have picked up only one Quranic ayah, which all of you know better than me, and I will try to go over its meaning with you. The ayah is known as Ayatul Bir. It is ayah number 177 of Surah Al-Baqarah. The meaning is, righteousness is not turning your faces toward the east or toward the west. True righteousness consists in believing in Allah and the last day and the angels and the book and the prophets and the giving away one's property in love of him to one's kinsmen and orphans, the poor, the wayfarer, and those who ask for help, and in freeing the necks of slaves and establishment of prayer and dispensing the purifying zakah. True righteousness is attained by those who are faithful to their promises once they have made it, and by those who remain steadfast in adversity and affliction, and at time of battle between truth and falsehood. Such are the truthful ones, such are the God-fearing. These are the persons who are muttaqi, who are sadiq, who are true. Now this Quranic ayah summarizes the whole concept of self-development and self-purification. It refers to 11 aspects. First and foremost, prayer, turning face toward east and west, is not the only expression of piety, bir, taqwa, kindness, sidq, but what constitutes true faith and iman and facing towards Allah is first and foremost that we hold to Tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Therefore it says belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Along that, it refreshes that facing towards east and west must be coupled with belief in Allah, in last day, in angels, in book, in prophets. Having said these 5 things, then the ayah continues and tells us that now this faith or aqidah is to be integrated with muamalat, with society, with welfare, with development, with progress. Therefore, it says, giving away of what you like to the kith and kin, but does not stop there. Continuing, it says, giving away in the month of Ramadan, as the hadith tells us, the Prophet, peace be upon him, used to be extra generous, as if a fast wind of mercy is blowing, giving everyone whatever is possible. Therefore, the ayah continues, says that not only kith and kin, but giving to orphans, then to poor, then to wayfarer, then to freeing of people. We should note very carefully that the Quran repeatedly reminds us that wherever people are oppressed politically, economically, culturally, socially, they need to be liberated. Islam is for liberation. Therefore, if some people have been locked down in their own hometown, as the Quran tells us, it is obligation of Muslims to free them and let them be free as a citizens of world. Having said that, it says it is besides that establishment of salah, not just praying, but its establishment, the system of salah. Because the Quran says salah is not just your bowing down and making prostration, it's a matter of removing evil from society. Salah takes care of fasha and munkar from society. It creates adl, it creates peace, it creates love, it creates obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it creates care of human being. And therefore, it continues and says, not only zakah, but fulfillment of promises. We make a promise to Allah when we say, you are our Allah. Then we should not have economic gods, cultural gods, political gods, social gods, customary gods around us. Liberation from all those is part of not only the first point raised in the ayah, belief in Allah, but also here when the Quran says that you have to fulfill your promises. These uqood are not confined to making a promise to pay 10,000 pieces of gold, but it's a matter of all those promises we make towards ourselves, towards our dear ones, and towards society. And then ultimately it says, to be steadfast in all those situations of test and trial. Tests and trials come in different forms. We are facing globally a test and trial. How people who thought with a touch of switch, they can remove hundreds of things. They press a button and they can hit a target thousands of miles away. All those claims of human beings have been shattered and they have been confined to their own homes, their own cells, by one single problem, which is not even tangible, empirically verifiable, but just in a very, very microscopic situation, perhaps can be seen. Invisible fear. These kind of tests and trial remind a believer how a person should relate himself or herself to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the ayah gives us 11 important aspects. 5 relate with aqidah, belief in Allah, angels, books, etc. And the other relate with our welfare of society and development of society, development of individual by giving away. Islam is the only system of belief where we find that it transforms human psyche of receiving and giving. If we receive an award of a 5 kilos of gold, we think we have gained a lot. But the Quran tells us if you give away 5 kilos of gold, then you have gained 70 times, 700 times, 7,000 times, or perhaps more with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which means here giving away becomes the source of pleasure, satisfaction, accomplishment, and not the so-called entrepreneurial soul of capitalism, where gaining and gaining and gaining becomes the craze of the individual. Therefore, the ayah, although very simple, but it guides us in both areas which link our whole life with Ramadan and fasting. Fasting is not just keeping away from food and drink, but it's a matter of this development where aqidah grows, individual grows, society grows, and this development ultimately leads to a global development of a peaceful, fair, just, and honest society where people respect each other, where dignity prevails, where human beings are not enslaved and locked down because of their faith or persecuted because of their faith, but they are liberated from all kinds of oppression. This is very briefly how I look on the concept of self-development as it exists in the Quran and Sunnah, and for which this whole month has been designed. So we try to internalize our aqidah, not just by Qiyamul Layl, which is definitely to be done, part of Sunnah in our life, but besides that, more so, liberation of people, development of society, elimination of poverty, elimination of illiteracy, elimination of all those aspects which are eating up our resources of society. May Allah bless you all and guide us to the right path and give us strength to learn and benefit from this month of fasting as much as possible to improve ourselves, develop ourselves individually, collectively, and globally. Wa alhamdulillah rabbil alameen.
Alhamdulillah, Jazakumullah khair, Prof. Anis Ahmad. Short and sweet, but very, we call it interesting. And before, I would like to invite others to raise a question, your hand, then to ask question, then we can unmute you. And it's a purification of soul in this Ramadan is very important. As in the computer, we have one concept called GIGO, garbage in, garbage out. What we process garbage, what we enter garbage, process garbage, and output also garbage. But during Ramadan, we process good things. We more tazkirah, more tadarus, more taraweh, and we process good thing, and the output, the akhlaq also good. So, but unfortunately, when we go back to Shawwal, then we become back to square one, like to become naughty again. So, Prof. Anis, how to solve this? To maintain that this istiqamah during Ramadan.
Jazakallah khairan. You know, I try to say very briefly that Islam does not believe in separation of soul and body and mind. In Ramadan, soul, body, and mind all are put together to go through a process of development. This development is not simply confined to azkar and taraweeh and qiyamul layl, but it is translated into behavioral change of giving away, of helping out, of changing our mindset. And therefore, in 30 days, if a person gets used to giving whatever excess he has or she has in terms of money, in terms of resources to people who are needy, who are poor, helping out, then this becomes a second nature. Then it should not. When we take soul and body separately, then we think in this month we are purifying our soul, and again back same entrepreneurial mind. Ramadan is meant for this transformation that come out of that capitalist mindset, which is always for greed. This is the month not for greed, but for sacrifice. Therefore, if we do it consciously and make a habitual change of behavior, only then Ramadan can help in further development. Otherwise, it becomes a ritual. We do rituals, a lot of rituals in our life, but they don't affect us. Don't we find people who go to masjid regularly, at the same time they are involved in drug trade, they go for Hajj, still they have some businesses which are not halal, which means people draw a line between what is spiritual and what is so-called worldly or professional. Ramadan or self-development means that we merge this together, your mind, your soul, your cognitive, emotive, your personality, nafs, all those aspects get together on one thing. I began by saying ikhlas niyah. I said by saying that it is a matter of balancing all these three together, synergization. Therefore, if we take Ramadan in its true spirit, not the conventional way of celebrations, only then after Ramadan we feel same spirit. Otherwise, we come back to square one, as you said. Can we hear a question, please? I can't hear you.
Habib, go ahead. Assalamualaikum Pak Habib.
Assalamualaikum, Prof.
Salam, silakan ya.
It's indeed a great pleasure to see again Professor Anis Ahmad. And I'm happy to hear that you mentioned in your first part of your presentation that there is a relationship between purification and the happiness. But aflaha man tazakka. And the United Nations has developed the index of happiness and also the goal of the development now related to happiness and well-being and peace. And you mentioned also the self-purification with the human liberation or human freedom. As Amartya Sen mentioned that the development as a freedom. So what you mentioned is really very what do you call valuable in terms of the development, human development index and peace index and also the happiness index. Could you please elaborate further on the how is the relationship and how would we do it during Ramadan to achieve this index, development, human development index as well as the peace index and the happiness
Jazakallah.
index.
Jazakallah khairan. We intellectuals are born and raised in an empirical epistemic paradigm, and therefore we are used to all those terms which we unconsciously use. We say happiness index, we say development index, and all those are then translated into very pure material terms. When we say development index, we are dealing with what is the GNP, how many thread looms are working, how many highways and bridges have been made. Everything is confined to our material measurement scale. But when we find Islamic paradigm, then it's a completely reverse approach. The Prophet, peace be upon him, comes to his home and he is told by Sayyidah Aisha anha that someone sent a piece of meat for us as a gift, and I have sent everything except a small part of that for us. The Prophet says, whatever you have distributed is saved, and what you have saved is not saved, which means that giving away was achievement, amassment, not amassment for myself. A different paradigm. Pleasure, happiness is measured not by acquiring but by giving. Therefore, infaq fi sabilillah, the Quran says, they ask you, what should we give? Qul al-af, whatever is more than you need. In other places, we find that the Prophet, peace be upon him, insists that he should not sleep unless whatever he has received should be given away to people. This is the index for happiness. It is the meaning of mardatillah, seeking Allah's pleasure. Our whole paradigm is different, but unfortunately, we never come out of the paradigm in which we are imprisoned. So I have tried in my brief discourse to touch on a Quranic ayah, which in my view is a full manifesto of change, dealing with development particularly. Development means belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ikhlas, niyya. At the same time, it's not just aqidah, because some people think if you purify aqidah, purification is done. No, purification does not mean simply aqidah. Purification means fulfillment of promises and contracts. If as a teacher I have made a contract with a university to spend 48 hours a week and I am spending 10 hours a week, do I fulfill the promise? Do I get the halal earning? Do I deliver what I'm supposed to deliver? It's not just one thing. In my home, if I have made a pledge to my wife that you are my wife and declare publicly in presence of people, I accept you as my wife. But do I accept her as a comrade, as partner, as sometimes leader, or I always think I am leader? Therefore, promises does not mean just saying words. So development or purification is not a matter of spirituality, confining myself in a zawiya, in a corner of masjid, and then think I'm doing spirituality. No, spirituality is in this ayah. This ayah tells us your spirituality is fulfillment of promise, giving away to orphan and needy, making your salah, doing istiqamah. All these are the parameters given in this Quranic ayah for self-purification and development. Therefore, I said in the beginning, I don't want to use spiritual purity, but I want to say self-development, which is more comprehensive. It includes my spirituality, includes my social behavior, my cultural behavior, intellectualism, everything. So the indexes are to be determined by the Quran and Sunnah, not by IMF and World Bank. We have to make our own parameters, that this is the index of pleasure. If I have given in Ramadan that much of wealth, that much of time, that much of knowledge, then my pleasure index should increase. If I have not done, it must get down and I must be worried. I must do my best to lift it up.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Anis. Go to next questions. Anybody want to raise your hand? Please, or just unmute. And yeah, Pak Hairudin Nizar, unmute dulu. Pak Hairudin first. After that, Muhammad Sultan. Pak Hairudin, tafadhal.
Thank you, Pak Fauzi Nurdin. My pleasure for Professor Anis Ahmad. Nice to see you, Prof. In Ramadan month, yeah. So how to develop as a Muslim to be better because of there are many temptations in our life. So especially in Indonesian context, West Sumatra, Padang, we got the coronavirus. So what is the impact of coronavirus to develop Muslim society? I mean that Muslim be better because of, in fact, it is a pressure in one aspects. So how to develop as Muslim be better in the influence of coronavirus? I think that's all.
Thank you. I will pass to Muhammad Sultan, Indonesia. Can you unmute your unmute first? Muhammad Sultan, unmute first.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Assalamualaikum. The simple question maybe. What your opinion about invitation of Pope Franciscus for all of the other religion to fast? As you know, Pope Franciscus invitation to all of other religion to fast in the same time. It means 14 May and to pray together. What your opinion about it?
Thank you, Prof. My brother Muhammad. Prof. Anis, can you answer 2 questions?
Yes, inshallah. For the first question, the virus has brought a number of challenges, also opportunities. Challenges are to come up with appropriate scientific invention, discovery, how to fight it, not just a pill or a shot, but how to develop a society where such eruptions are prohibited and where even the development of scientific devices is done with proper care and proper security. So how we avoid this kind of eruption in future. At the same time, it brings an opportunity that while we are in home, how we make best use of this time. Just by relaxing, sleeping, watching some comic programs, or trying to relate ourselves with our Rabb by joint or collective study with our family members. At the same time, using this time for communicating wisdom and knowledge to others through electronic means, through coming up with new writings, research papers, and inventions at an intellectual level. So the time is to be properly managed and planned. Therefore, coronavirus should not be considered just a threat and fear, but also as an opportunity for our creative activities, and we can do a lot in that. Now, with reference to the other question, I am sure that the purpose of fasting in Islam is not just one day when people declare they are fasting, but it is a training program for a believer for 30 days, how he or she should unhook himself or herself from those habits which harm us and develop those habits which are useful for us. Therefore, it's a training program. It's not a matter of just a United Nations Day of fasting. It's not symbolic. It is actual. It's practical. It's beneficial. And it comes regularly throughout the history of mankind. We are not aware of any period when fasting was not made obligatory in one way or the other and for certain duration. So fasting is not just one day when we declare, Allah, we are serving you, but fasting means change of habit and behavior. So we continuously relate ourselves with our Creator.
Thank you, Prof. Anis. We also have a guest from Malik Badri from Turkey. Can you unmute from Malik? Istanbul, from Istanbul. Malik Badri, can you unmute?
He is our Sheikh. We should listen to him actually.
Yes, can you unmute? Yeah, from Malik. Tafadhal, Sheikh.
Yeah. Yes, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I'm so happy really to see Brother Anis so vibrant. The same face of Professor Anis as Dean of Revealed Knowledge. And I should wish first of all to apologize to Brother Anis. He invited me to come to his university, but the first time I was in hospitalized. And then after that, it became, I was told not to travel very long journeys by air. That is why I apologize to two conferences in the United States and one in Indonesia. Now, what I want to bring you back to what Brother Fauzan said. Professor Fauzan mentioned the importance of spirituality, which you have mentioned, but I think we need to dwell a little bit on this. Al-Ghazali speaks about fasting as 3 levels, as is already maybe said. First of all, there is the fasting of the commoners, Siyam al-Amma. And that is everybody does nothing but to stop eating and drinking, but living the same type of life which he used to live. And then there is Siyam al-Khassa, the specialized people. And these are the ones who not only stop eating and drinking, but they stop the bad habits which they generally do, the sins like gossiping, like becoming aggressive to people, doing this, doing that. So they are watching their behavior, not only what they eat and to stop eating and drinking. But the third highest level is Siyam Khassat al-Khassa, the specialized among the special people. And these are people who do not only watch their tongue from gossiping, but also they are watching their thoughts, their inner thinking, their feelings. So whenever a bad thought comes to him about somebody, he at once begins to make istighfar and changes his approach. Now, if we can put this in terms of grades, then we can give the person who is at this Siyam Khassat al-Khassa, we may give him 90% or more than 90%. Al-Khassa, maybe he will get about from 75 to 80%. Al-Amma, they will get about 60 or 50%. But there are, to me, there is a fourth group which Al-Ghazali did not mention. Maybe they were not so common in his time, but they are quite common now. And that is the Siyam of the sinners. The sinners. And this Siyam of the sinners to me is that a person is not only continuing his life of gossiping and being aggressive to people or doing so, but he is actually planning serious and damaging and evil things during Ramadan. He's still lying in the internet and scandalizing people, doing this, doing that. This group of people, unfortunately, now is quite a lot in the Islamic world. I hardly now believe anything in the WhatsApp. very big things are being said, and I discover they are all lies. Such people, I expect, will not only get about 0 in their siyam, but they maybe get by the minus. May be failing and getting minus. So I honestly believe today, if we have a very large group of Muslims who are of al-khassa, of the specialized, and some who are specialized among the special, and they make dua, Allah will raise, will stop this epidemic, pan-epidemic. Allah will answer immediately. وَلَئِنْ سَأَلَنِي لَأُعْطِيَنَّ. He reaches the level in which if he asks Allah, please Allah do so and so, Allah will do it. لَأُعْطِيَنَّ. It is for sure that if he asks, I will give him. Unfortunately, these types of people now are quite rare, and we need to make use of Ramadan in seeing where do we stand, our grade, and whether we are going to fail or to pass. Thank you very much.
Jazakumullah khair, Prof. Malik Badri from Istanbul. His father of us. Yeah, go ahead, Prof.
I would like to thank our elder brother and Sheikh, Professor Malik Badri, and I have always been his admirer and always love him, and maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him more health. The points he has raised actually helped me in what I said earlier, that we have to have our own grading, our own ranking, our own benchmark, and the benchmarks he has provided are extremely important to understand, that persons who are trying their best but at the common level, a level which is second, and level third, which is of people who are trying to leave all their habits which were unethical, and now they are developing their self, their person. At the same time, he has referred to the role of dua and the role of intention, niyyah. A person who is involved in day and night serving internet, even if this person makes niyyah and dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will listen to him and relieve him, because he says, do not be desperate. La taqnu min rahmatillah. He calls again and again, Anibu ilallah, come towards me and I am going to welcome you. So this month particularly helps us in self-evaluation, in which grade we are. At the same time, it calls for a positive action on our part to make dua and intention to increase in our hasanat and get rid of whatever are sayyat.
Shukran. We have Brother Zakaria Lamputeh from Thailand. Please unmute and ask question. Prof. Zakaria.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Prof. Fauzan, and also Prof. Anis, Ahmad. I'm very happy to see all the Kibar Ulama here, alhamdulillah. I got very brief question. This is about may I relate it a bit back to the what's going on in the pandemic of the COVID-19 at the moment, sir? Because there is one statement of the one of the Muslim group here in Thailand, where they say that I fear to Allah more than I afraid of the coronavirus diseases. So from this point of view, I would like to hear from you that, because we are talking about let's get the nafs, and you mentioned about the first point of yours is that the ikhlasun niyyah, and also the 4 points that about the development of oneself through development of the community.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Zakaria.
Okay, so may I hear the comment from you, Professor Anis, on this, because they say this statement, and at the same time, it's very hard for us, especially for the religious communities, to deal with the people who think like this and who say like this during the pandemic of the coronavirus diseases. Thank you.
Okay, Tafadhal,
Jazakallah.
Prof. Anis.
Jazakallah khairan. You know, fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala means that we do all those things He has asked us to do to please Him and avoid all those which annoy Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never said that if you know a person is infected, then go and embrace him. He never said, if you find a burning fire, go and jump into it. He always said that you have to use your judgment, ethical judgment, rational judgment, the judgment based on Quran and Sunnah. Therefore, those who say fearing Allah is bigger or fearing virus is bigger is a wrong question. Fearing Allah means that we fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and save ourselves from whatever is wrong. And therefore, avoiding situations where a virus may infect you is not fearing virus, but obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because He wants me to save myself from all wrongs. He wants me to be strong. He wants me to be healthy. Therefore, fearing Allah and avoiding all those situations where virus may infect a person is not a conflict, but it's one and the same thing.
Thank you, Prof. Anis. Next question. Just raise your hand like this, then I will unmute your mic, then you can ask question. Okay, currently we have 209 participants from Guyana, Istanbul, from and Russia also. Brother Ibrahim, our ex-IUM students, alumni is from Russia. You want to ask any question from Brother Ibrahim from Dagestan? Okay, otherwise I open to others. Yes, Brother Roharjo from UIN Walisen. Okay, Wali Songo, sorry. Maaf, sila Pak.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dear Prof. Anis Ahmad, I'm very happy to join this moment. And then, as you said, fasting has several levels. Fasting and sleeping, for the lay people, getting one reward, and then also higher and higher level to be better. Then, what I'm questioning is related to Al-Baqarah, verse 185, starting. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس, and then blah 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 until وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ. What do you mean by وَلِتُكَبِّرُوا اللَّهَ عَلَى مَا هَدَاكُمْ? In my opinion, this is how to enlighten the greatness of Allah in the Ramadan month. But now we are in COVID-19 condition. So related to this condition, how to lighten the greatness of Allah, like tadarus, reading Al-Quran in the mosque, and then for some it's prohibited, and then Tarawih, for some it's also prohibited. What do you think? What do you mean about this one? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Raharjo. Yes, Franis.
The answer is very, very simple. When the Quran says that you should establish supremacy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by way of hidayah He has given you, it simply means that whether you are in mosque or in your home, you have to remember Him, praise Him, and make His name high. If it is prohibited by health authorities to assemble in mosque, then within the home, a family can have Taraweeh in the same manner, reciting the Quran together. Not only that, but recitation along with its understanding, translation, its elaboration, and all that can be done within the family. So it does not frustrate, it encourages people to go in more depth of understanding, I believe that's why I'm saying that it has opportunities. And that means every family member, even if there is no family, if there are a few friends living in a hostel and they are not infected, they should get together in their own sitting room and spread a prayer carpet and make their Salatul Tahajjud, Salatul Taraweeh there, make their congregation prayer there and recite the Quran. No one can stop us from elaborating and raising high the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in this case of the virus spread in many Muslim countries.
Jazakumullah khair, Prof. Anis. I think that was there will be a last question if you want to unmute to ask question. Otherwise, we're going to close for this session for today, and we're going to have another session next week. Inshallah, we're going to invite Dr. Imtiaz from IIIT, and he's going to talk about multi-religious in Ramadan. And next one is Dr. Antonio from Indonesia. Any last question?
Yes, Professor Dr. Fauzan, I would
yes,
like to
go ahead.
ask. I'm talking from Turkey.
Turkey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Turkey. I would like to ask Professor Anis, in our society, we see that some people, they fast during the Ramadan, but unfortunately, there is no change in neither their behavior nor their other activities. For example, some of them, they just simply fast. Although it's a very difficult task for the body, but they do not pray regularly, even for prayers. So how can we explain this situation? Why people, although they are fasting, but they are not doing other activities, even during the Ramadan?
Thank you. Anis?
I think the responsibility lies on scholars, on their friends, on their family, to make sure that they understand the meaning of fasting. It is not just abstention from food and water, but it is total submission to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in our devotions, in our remembering Him, and the best remembering is Salah. The Quran tells us. Therefore, we need to educate them again and again, remind them, and ask them to read directly the Quran and Ahadith, where it is mentioned very clearly that if you are fasting and you are not praying and you are not observing requirements of Siyam, then it's just like keeping yourself hungry. Allah does not need that hunger at all. So we have to educate them. We have to continuously make effort to share with them what are the benefits till they are convinced. It's a matter of lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, but still we must appreciate at least they are fasting without knowing the meaning. It is just like a person who comes to masjid regularly but does not know the meaning of prayer. It's our job to let him know the meaning of prayer and then let him share how khashya can be created in prayer. It's our job. So we should do our job, and I'm sure if we appropriately educate our brothers who are doing things mechanically, then they will learn how to do it meaningfully, and that will bring change in their life, inshallah.
Jazakumullah khair, Prof. Anis Ahmad. I guess this for today, and inshallah we're going to see next week. Thank you, Prof. Malik Badri, the father of Islamic psychologist all the way from Istanbul. We have brothers from Guyana, from Russia, Dagestan, Zarina Ho and Bubakar Mua from Hong Kong, from Cambodia, from Thailand, of course from Indonesia, and all over the world. Alhamdulillah, we have up to 212 participants today. Inshallah, we're going to target for 500, inshallah, one day. It is a blessing of COVID-19, where before this, we don't have this kind of opportunity to meet each other in virtual world. And we hope, and from Brother Tijani Ahmad also, and we have Prof. Dr. Manu Manuti, and Prof. Dr. Said Hamid, from Dato' Asha, from all over the world. Alhamdulillah. Taroni, Randabe. You from Taroni, you are from where, Yaki?
Algeria.
Algeria,
I'm from
mashallah.
Algeria, but I'm in Malaysia, here in UAE.
Oh, yeah, Malaysia. Oh, you have. Okay, Jazakumullah khair. And inshallah, we'll see you again next week. Normally, we meet 2:30 except on Thursday, but sometimes we have a special, like from Malik Bari, we do it on Friday, and from Anis Ahmad, we do it on Saturday. Prof. Malik, you want to say something, I guess. Prof. Malik, you want to say something?
Yes?
Yeah, go ahead. You want to say something?
Yes, if I can say last few words,
yes,
then I will say also thank you to Brother Anis. But I would like to bring this point. I think when Al-Ghazali said that those who are specialized, the special of the special, will watch their thoughts, I think he's saying a very important point psychologically, because he's actually saying to us that it is our thinking that develops our feelings and our emotions. We generally forget the importance of emotion, the importance of this is the level of ihsan, worshiping God as if you are seeing God in front of you, because if you don't see him, he's seeing you all the time. Now this to me is a very important aspect, that Allah did not make us slaves only with our rationality and mind, but also with our feelings, just before I close my talk, I will remind people that there is a Sahabi who used to take alcohol and to be punished for taking alcohol. But he used to make fun, which the Prophet used to laugh at and to enjoy his company. When one of the, I think it was Umar ibn al-Khattab, said, may Allah curse you. Every time you drink, they punish you. Then again, you go to drink. Then the Prophet said, don't curse him. He is a man who loves Allah and his Prophet. And he is saying in another form of the hadith, it is a man whom Allah and his Prophet love. Now he's doing a big sin, but he's loved and he loves. With this shows the importance of emotion. We don't need only to think that only by our thinking, by our decision, we are khalas worshipping Allah. We'll have to have this, our heart, not only our mind. Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair from Malik Badri. Now we more than 1 hour. We start 2:30, now 1:35. And Alhamdulillah, thank you, Prof. Anis Ahmad. And we're glad Prof. Malik joining us too. It's like a bonus for us. And inshallah, we see you again in this virtual world. And thank you, Brother Sharan, man behind the scene. And for everybody, may Allah bless us in the month of Ramadan. And we, inshallah, our fasting is according to the highest, like Prof. Malik Bari said, 90++. Khasa and Khasiyah is like the highest A student, inshallah. We close with Tasbih Kafara and Surah Wal-As. Subhanakallah wa bihamdika. Wal-As insana fi khusr illa
Thank you, brother.
Yes, thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamu warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallahu khairan.
Barakallah fiik.
Waalaikumsalam.